And we're live again. Good evening, folks. Welcome to Friday Night Tech Talk. And hopefully all the regulars will be coming in. Haven't got anybody in the comments as yet, but hopefully that'll change soon. And if you're new here, we do this every week. I take some articles published from last week to this week, last Friday to this Friday, to find what I think is interesting. And there's Annette. Hey, Annette, so glad you're here. You're the first one in today. Very happy to see you here. And I had just checked before I went on about 5 minutes ago to see if Ted was coming on, and there was nothing. And now I just got a message. I won't be able to come to the stream tonight. Have a good show and a great weekend. Okay, so Ted will not be here tonight, which I think means it's going to be a very quick night tonight because my articles are kind of on the shorter side. But as I said, if you're new here, we go over some articles. I've got 6 articles this week and that I find interesting. Normally, if there's a big event, I try to highlight that and find an article talking about that. But as far as I know, no big events this week, although we got an announcement. So I just come up with some stories that I think are probably interesting to other tech heads like me. And of course, generally, if you're here, you're probably a tech head, someone like me. And so Annette was first. Here's Ellie right behind her. Glad to have you both. And okay, like I said, if you're new here, please type something in the comments and let us know where you're from. And feel free to discuss as much as you want in the comments. And Ellie, who wasn't here a minute ago, Ted just texted me and said he will not be able to make it tonight. So it's going to be, I think, a fairly short show. But as I do every week, I will show you the show notes on my website. So if you go to mobilegeezer.wordpress.com, just click on today's date, you'll get the show notes just for tonight's show. So, as I do every week, we'll give you a little preview of what we're going to talk about tonight. So, the big thing was the announcement. We finally have an exact date for the Made by Google event, and it's 4.5 weeks from now. And this one was sent to Mark Gurman, and I guess we all copied that one. But the funny thing is, they announced it, and you'll see in the Verge's story, they gave us a date. I don't think they gave us a place. It's in New York, but I think that's about it. Okay, now we've got Elna, so we've got Annette, Ellie, and Elma. Good to have you all here. So that'll be the first thing we'll discuss. The Pixel 10 series launch date, which is the 20th of next month, and that'll be on The Verge. Then we're going to follow that up with Jack Dorsey's BitChat. He's come up with a new private messaging app. It's not up yet, so don't go looking for it. But I just thought it was interesting because we know if it's Jack Dorsey, it's probably going to be a good thing. So we'll see. After that, like I said, most of these stories are kind of short, so it's going to be an early night, especially with Ted not being here. All right. And then Chrome OS plus Android equal one operating system. And I just said, really, because we've had rumors about this for so long, but we now have some kind of official word that this is going to be happening. So we'll go over that from Mashable. After that, I just said this year all the new iPhones may be colorful because the iPhone Pros are usually not so colorful, but looks like they're going to be this year. So we'll check that out from Phone Arena. And then another iPhone story, kind of. A preliminary ruling, this is a court ruling, BOE OLED panels won't affect iPhones because there's been some stories that a preliminary ruling will probably stop iPhones from being sold in the U.S. and iPhone is saying that's not going to happen, so don't worry about it. So I've got that story on Tom's Guide. And then my last story, I just thought it was interesting again. Last year I gave you, or months ago, I gave you a story about some undersea cables. And we've had some undersea cables that were cut in the last year, which you'll see in the story. And some of the tech giants, some of the biggies, are going to be putting more and more in. I just said tech giants are expanding their undersea cable networks as global connectivity becomes increasingly important. And I found that on a site called Network Computing. So I just thought it was interesting. So nothing else new in the comments. We know Ted won't be here, so we'll just get started with the first story. And like I said, I guess the exciting news for the week is we now know when the Google Pixel event will be. So let's start with that. So we'll go over to The Verge. I just said Pixel 10 series launch date. Google announces Pixel 10 launch event. This year's Made by Google event will take place on August 20th. Like I said, man, this was written by Emma Roth 2 days ago. I didn't see a place in New York where it's going to be at, but let's see if we see. Maybe I missed it. So let me drop this into Reader View, get rid of these ads. Google officially has a date for its Pixel launch event, August 20th, 2025. In an invite sent on Wednesday, Google says the event will take place in New York City at 1 p.m. So, like I said, I don't see where the company will show up the latest on our Pixel phones, watches, buds, and more. During the event, Google is expected to take the wraps off its new Pixel smartphone lineup, including the base Pixel 10, which is rumored to come with 3 cameras instead of 2. Usually the base has 2, along with an upgraded Pixel 10 Pro and Pixel 10 Pro XL. Google may also reveal a completely dust-proof Pixel 10 Pro Fold. It seems like all the folds are becoming dust and waterproof, which is great. As for other devices, rumors suggest that Google's Pixel Watch 4, and I have the Pixel Watch 3, most of you know, could come with a larger battery and a slightly thicker profile. There haven't been as many details leaked about Google's plans for its Pixel Buds, but some reports claim the company is getting ready to launch another pair of budget-friendly Pixel Buds 2a. Google will likely stream next month's event live on YouTube. Yeah, they always do. So at least we have a date, and we know it's going to be in New York, but I don't think they have actually said where in New York as yet. So I guess we have to wait for that. At least we know in 4.5 weeks, we'll be seeing the new stuff. And most of you know I have the Pixel 9 Pro and the Pixel Watch 3. Oh, which reminds me, I haven't shown you. Today I am wearing my OnePlus Watch 3. So, of course, I have my OnePlus 13 that I took to work, backed up by the Nothing Phone 3a Pro, which I've said a number of times I really love this. Actually, I really love both of them. I saw a video yesterday the day before yesterday, where a guy picked the Pixel, the OnePlus 13, as the best phone in the world right now. And very well may be. So those are the 2 phones I took to work with me today. So nothing else new in the comments, so we'll go on to the next story. I told you the stories are kind of short today. All right, Jack Dorsey's BitChat, a private end-to-end encryption messaging app. No internet needed. That's the surprising part. But this is not working yet, so we'll see. Anyway, I found the story on Mashable, so let's go take a look. Jack Dorsey launches BitChat, a secure messaging app that doesn't use the internet. Dorsey promises a decentralized end-to-end messenger built on security. And that was written by Chase D. Benedetto on July 11th. So let's drop it into reader view, get rid of the ads. Jack Dorsey, Twitter, Blue Sky, and Square co-founder and Bitcoin evangelist, is now taking on the world of private messaging apps. Announced earlier this week, Dorsey's latest project is called BitChat, a reportedly secure and private messaging app that doesn't need to connect to the internet or cell service at all. So this is why it's not working as yet. Alicia did not know about BitChat. Will be interesting to see. Yeah, let's get through because I'm not so sure he's going to be able to bring this out, but we'll see. Announced earlier this week, latest project BitChat reported that doesn't need connection to the internet or cell service at all. Instead, Dorsey explains in a recent white paper published on GitHub, the end-to-end encrypted app uses decentralized Bluetooth tech to connect one user to another, a type of offline communication popularized by apps like Bridgefy, I don't know that one, and preferred among the privacy focused. Now, of course, that means you're going to have some problems with distance or some limited distance, but that's going to get into that. The system Dorsey is hinging his latest project on is known as Bluetooth Low Energy, BLE, mesh networks, and I didn't even know about these. The networks traditionally have limited range, of course. Most Bluetooth connections work within 100 meters, but Dorsey claims his new tech can extend to 300 meters or 984 feet, which is pretty good for Bluetooth, but still, you're not going to be going, from one end of town to the other with this. So it's interesting. The app, which Dorsey called a weekend project, was coded using the help of Goose, an open source AI vibe coding assistant built by his company Block. I can see where he would do that in the weekend, no problem. BitChat addresses the need for resilient private communication that doesn't depend on centralized infrastructure, Dorsey writes. By leveraging Bluetooth Low Energy mesh networking, BitChat enables direct peer-to-peer messaging within physical proximity, in other words, not very far apart, with automatic message relay extending the effective range beyond direct Bluetooth connection. So I guess it's like a mesh network. So I wonder how far it'll actually reach. I guess that 984 feet. So that's what I'm thinking. Is he going to be able to get this to work? I don't know. However, the tech founder's promises of an entirely decentralized secure platform have already been called into question by users and experts. Some people don't believe it already, I guess, in part due to a potentially vulnerable authentication system that could allow a malicious actor to intercept the secure connection. Dorsey has since added a disclaimer alongside a note that the project is a work in progress. So that's why I'm saying, don't know if he's going to be able to bring this forward. The disclaimer reads, this software has not received external security review and may contain vulnerabilities that and does not necessarily meet its stated security goals. So it sounds like he's got to wait. Coding it in the weekend was one thing. Now getting everything it needs, that's going to be a longer process. Do not use it for production use and do not rely on the security whatsoever until it has been reviewed. Now, of course, I said it's not out anywhere yet that I can find, so I don't think you have to worry about it for the moment. Ellie said, true, there are drawbacks with such an app using only Bluetooth, but Dorsey is innovative, so we'll see. Yeah, anybody can do it. I would think he'd be the one, but we'll see. Reading that last paragraph, I'm not so sure he can do it. It'll be interesting to see as time goes on. I just want to get it out there because I figure if Jack Dorsey's doing it, and it's a new app, it could become important, and it could become important in a hurry. So, okay, we'll go on to our third story. Chrome OS plus Android equal one operating system. I just said really. So let's go on Mashable and take a look. Google is merging Android with Chrome OS. And like I said, we've been hearing about this kind of stuff for years, but it sounds like we've got official word now. It's finally happening. Written by Stan Schroeder on July 14th. Of course, I can't see the name Schroeder without thinking of peanuts, but I've always been a peanuts addict, especially Snoopy. So that's just me. Okay, let's drop this into Reader View. Google is looking to combine Android and Chrome OS into a single operating system. Samir Samat, president of Android ecosystem at Google, revealed the news in an interview with TechRadar's Lance Ulanoff. We're going to be combining Chrome OS and Android into a single platform, he said, though Samat didn't say when the change may happen. In fact, much of the interview revolves around other Android-related topics, including changes Google has made to Android 16, making it more customizable and integrating Gemini throughout many of its features. And those of us that have Pixel phones already have Android 16. Still, the prospect of Android and Chrome OS being combined into one operating system is the biggest news here, as we've heard rumors of it happening for years. Chrome OS is Google's operating system for Chromebook laptops and several other devices, including an HDMI dongle called Chromebit, I didn't know about that, and a mini PC called Chromebox. It's designed to be light and fast and relies heavily on Google's Chrome browser as well as Google's cloud for storage. While Samat didn't share any of the details of what this major merger may look like once it happens, he did tell TechRadar he's very interested in how people are using their laptops these days and what they're getting done. Notably, Google recently introduced several features into Android that make it a bit more friendly for computers and tablets, including desktop mode, which turns a Pixel device into a mini PC of sorts. Like I said, another short one, but that one's kind of important because a lot of people have been looking for this for years. So, but we don't know when it's going to happen. But the fact that the head of the department said it officially in an interview, I guess makes it official. So we'll be looking to see when it happens, and I'll certainly report to you guys as soon as I know about it. All right, like I said, it's going to be a short night. We may get a half an hour in tonight. We'll see. This year, all the new iPhones may be colorful. I found the story on Phone Arena. I just thought it was interesting. The iPhone 17 Pro models, and those are usually the most boring colors, might finally break free from Apple's grayscale era. She calls it the grayscale era. A new report suggests the full palette Apple might be rolling out this fall by Sveta Ermankova, and you know she writes a lot of their articles. And this is also from July 14th. So let's drop this one into Reader View. We are expecting the iPhone 17 series to drop in September as usual, and the recent report may have already nailed down the launch date. While we've already seen some early leaks about the color options for the regular iPhone 17 and the new iPhone 17 Air, and I think that's the entire reason why Samsung had to come out with their thin phone, because Apple's doing it. You know, if Apple's doing it, Samsung has to do it too. We now have a much clearer idea of what iPhone 17 Pro models might look like too. And yes, it's more than just space and space this and titanium that, because that's usually what it is. According to the latest report, Apple is going for a color-matched lens protection cover, which we'll see down here, and it's apparently doing that across the lineup. The regular iPhone 17 is rumored to come in black, gray, light green, silver, light blue, and light purple. The iPhone 17 Air, meanwhile, could arrive in black, silver, blue, gray, and light gold, just as earlier leaks suggested. Now here comes the new bit. As for the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max, the new color options are shaping up to be black, gray, silver, get this, dark blue, orange, no less. That's a new one. Hey, Brian's in here. Glad you're here, brother. It's going to be a short night. Ted can't make it, and I happen to have short stories tonight, but always glad you're here. So I don't think we've seen the 17 or the iPhone Pros in dark blue and especially in orange. So the lens protection covers, they're giving you an idea of what they would look like. This is for the iPhone, for the iPhone 17, black, gray, silver, which we're kind of used to. Then light blue, light green, light purple. Now, of course, this is the 17, so no great surprise there. And this is the camera ring. Keep in mind, iPhone 17 Air, black, silver, blue, gray, light gold. And here's the new stuff. As usual, Pro Max and Pro, black, gray, silver. Then dark blue and orange. Very surprising. Brian's faithful as always. Thank you very much, as always, sir. And thanks for the one you dropped on me yesterday. Brian's very faithful about that, and I very much appreciate it. So, these might be all the colors for the iPhone 17 series. Yeah, orange, though that might actually turn out to be more of a dark gold or coppery shade. Still, it's something different, that's for sure. Plus, you might have a dark blue too, which is a win for all fans who want some color. Compare that to the current iPhone 15 Pro lineup, which includes black titanium, white titanium, natural titanium, and desert titanium. Not exactly thrilling. I'm definitely ready for Apple to bring in a color that doesn't feel like it came out of a grayscale filter. I think it's great that she puts it that way. The last time we had a splash of something more fresh was with the iPhone 13 Pro with its alpine green finish. And now with this orangish tone possibly entering the chat, fans finally get a bit more choice again. Sure, it may not matter much if you throw a case on it, but hey, it's still nice to have something different. I totally agree. And this redesign, yeah, it's already sparking some strong opinions. And based on the leaked dummy units and renders floating around, I've got to say I'm not loving it so far. Something about that logo placement feels off. So this is design that is floating around. It looks a bit strange to her, I guess. It is different, that's for sure. I still hope the final product looks a lot more polished because I just can't picture Apple's design team signing off on that exact look. That's this look, she's saying. But hey, we've seen stranger decisions before. So that's it. So the exciting part is that the Pros might have more colors. I just thought that was another interesting story. And Ellie's the same as Sveta. She wasn't crazy about that back either. So I guess to the females who are tech heads, they're not crazy about it. So, and Brian said, hi back to Eleanor. Let me make sure I got that in. Okay. I've only got two more stories left. Like I said earlier, let me sip my green tea. Brian says, the two-tone iPhone, depending on the angle, would be cool. Yeah, that's true. And Will, you could pop in here, you know. Anyway, Will always has the link, so he can come in anytime. And Brian says, what's up? Anyway, I'm down to my last two stories already, Will. So it's going to be a real quick night. Ellie said, Will, OG Musketeer. Hi, Will. Okay. preliminary ruling on BOE OLED panels won't affect iPhones sold in the U.S. That's what Apple says. Let's go take a look on Tom's Guide. Apple says ITC ruling on Chinese display ban won't impact the iPhone. And that's because there have already been a few other articles out there saying some of the iPhones may not be allowed to be sold in the U.S. This is a preliminary ruling, so nothing's set in stone yet. But Apple says it's not going to affect them either way. This was by Joshua Render from 2 days ago. Apple has shot down claims that ITC ruling will affect iPhones in the U.S. So they're saying it won't affect United States iPhones. So into reader view, get rid of these ads. Updated story. A new preliminary ruling from the United States International Trade Commission leads to concerns certain iPhone 15, iPhone 16, and possibly even iPhone 17 models could be under threat. So Apple's definitely saying no. However, Apple has confirmed this case has no bearing on the company's devices, we're talking U.S. devices, and won't cause any impact on consumers. An Apple spokesperson said Apple is not a party to this case. Yes, this case is really about BOE. And the order has no impact on any Apple products. Okay. The initial case, as reported by ET News, centers on the Chinese display maker BOE, who they have come up fast, and I gather they make really good displays, which has been producing OLED displays for the iPhone since 2021. In the preliminary ruling, the ITC states that BOE, alongside several of its subsidiaries, had violated subsection, I'm not going to read all that, of Section 337 of the Tariff Act of 1930 in the importation into the United States or in the sale of certain organic light-emitting diode display modules and components thereof by reason of misappropriation of trade secrets, namely those belonging to Samsung. Samsung is the one who originally got them to look at this. So Samsung thinks they're being infringed upon. Apple saying, well, not in the U.S., but as we go down, it might be in China. We'll see. Like I said, preliminary ruling so far. As part of the ruling, the ITC recommends implementing both a restricted exclusion order and a cease and desist order, that's to protect Samsung, against BOE. The former of these orders would block the company from importing infringing OLED panels into the U.S., while the latter would mean that BOE could not sell or supply its existing stock to U.S. assemblers. Keep in mind, all preliminary, nothing set in stone yet, so it'll be a while. And while Apple does source displays from BOE alongside Samsung and LG, the company has confirmed to Tom's Guide no iPhones are affected by the ban. Will this affect iPhones sold in China? And this could be a different story. We have seen in a recent expos from Juncan Los Verdes, best I can do, that Apple has authorized BOE to produce LTPO displays for Chinese versions of the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max. However, it appears the same won't be true in other countries due to weak LTPO performance benchmarks. If that's accurate, it could be the case there's some consequence for iPhone models in the Chinese market, so not here. If Apple decides it wants to limit its relationship with BOE in light of this, but that would only be speculation at this stage. Well, the whole thing is speculation because it's all preliminary. And at any rate, what happens in China has nothing to do with the ITC's rulings for U.S. imports. Of course, this is also only a preliminary ruling as well. We will also have to wait for the final decision on the matter, which is expected in November. Once that is made, President Trump will have 60 days to either veto or approve the commission's ruling. So, like I said, preliminary, according to Apple, It might affect him in China. It won't affect him in the U.S. So just interesting story, but like we'll find out more come November, I guess. So I am down to my last story. And it's 8:30, so okay. I thought we would have stopped by now, but at least I'm going past that. This is going to be my shortest show in a while, though. Tech giants are expanding their undersea cable networks as global connectivity becomes increasingly important. Like I said, I found this on a site called Network Computing. Apple, Meta, and Google plan subsea cable expansion. Companies are investing heavily in new subsea cable infrastructure to enhance global connectivity and support their data center operations. And I saw another article that I didn't get to read that were wondering if they're trying to just monopolize everything around the world as far as cables. But who knows? But I'm sure that it's needed more networks because people have been sabotaging these undersea cables too, which you'll see in the story. So this is, I guess this was written way back in February, but it's affecting us now, especially since these attacks on the cables have been happening. So let's drop it into reader view. Sorry, it's such an old article, but I still think it's interesting. After a year peppered with news about subsea cable cuts, and we've had a few of them in 2024, Amazon, Meta, and Google are planning new cabling systems for 2025, spending big to boost critical infrastructure for enterprises. Amazon Ireland filed for a license to land the cable connecting Ireland to the U.S. Meanwhile, Meta is planning an international subsea cable network, and Google expects to expand its already extensive undersea infrastructure. I had no idea these companies had so many cables around the world. Amazon's latest. In January 2025, Roderick Beck broke the news of the Amazon Ireland cable filing on LinkedIn and his blog. Beck's Luminous Real Estate and Telecom OU is a brokerage that handles subsea and terrestrial networks. Amazon has not yet confirmed the venture. Now, keep in mind, this was back in February, so I'm sure it's gone forward since then. According to Beck, Amazon is considering landing the subsea cable near Castlefreck on Ireland's south coast in County Cork. I guess County Cork must be pretty famous, because even I've heard of it, I think, from movies, along a stretch of beach called the Strand. In addition to connecting two longtime trading partners and allies, Beck said the planned Amazon cable could provide sorely needed physical diversity, at least on the terrestrial side, to the Irish Sea and the older Atlantic cables such as Hibernia North and South and AC1. I can never emphasize enough how much money Amazon loses if it cannot serve its customers for even just a few seconds. That's probably true, Beck said in his blog. Key data centers in Ireland, and we know Apple has a bunch of key data centers in Ireland too. Ireland is a critical hub for Amazon. Ireland's a great tax place for all of them. That's why they're there. The company's data centers serve not only Ireland, but also Europe for retail e-commerce. Beck estimated that Amazon has at least the following data centers in Ireland: 7 in operation or planned at Cruiseroth Road, Dublin; 5 in Clonshaw Business Park, where EXA Infrastructure has its cable landing station; 3 in Blanchardstown Business Park. So that's 15 that they have in Ireland. It's pretty heavy. Beck said he believes Amazon's Ireland U.S. link will be based on a 12-fiber pair spatial division multiplex cable. I think these people are going to have to start putting some kind of physical guards to guard this stuff, because I don't see what else they can do. What is Google doing? Google, meantime, is the world's largest owner and investor in submarine cable networks, according to Submarine Networks. Didn't know that. Between 2016 and 2018, Google invested $47 billion to improve its Google Cloud infrastructure to 134 points of presence and 14 subsea cable investments worldwide. In 2020, Google announced the Grace Hopper subsea cable linking the US, UK, and Spain. In 2023, it announced the Novum transatlantic subsea cable connecting Portugal, Bermuda, and the US. Finally, in November 2024, Google introduced its plans for Australia Connect, building on its existing Pacific Connect infrastructure. So they're going all the way around the world. Meta plans to join the fray. Meta, the parent of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, is the second biggest driver of internet usage globally. In late November, TechCrunch reported Meta's plan to build a fiber optic subsea cable extending around the world. According to TechCrunch, Meta is slated to spend as much as $10 billion to build the 40,000 plus kilometer network. Who knows? It might be done by now. I don't know. Higher stakes. The global subsea cable network underpins worldwide communications, carrying, get this, 95% of all intercontinental data traffic. That surprised me. And an estimated $10 trillion of daily financial transactions. That's $10 trillion daily. That's a lot of transactions. Recent and suspicious cuts in the Baltic Sea have renewed focus on the precarious condition of existing networks. Yeah, they had 3 or 4 of them last year around the world. Repairs are time-consuming, and the specter of rising insurance rates is fueling action from various organizations to find ways to avert and deal with cable cuts. That's why I think they need to physically put people somewhere there, boats there, something. I think they physically need to protect these things. These organizations will include the UN, NATO, and the International Telecommunication Union and the International Cable Protection Committee. For example, NATO introduced Project Heist, that's a strange name for it, to create a system that routes data from underwater cables to satellites during outages and cuts. This plan promises a new approach to avoiding future service disruptions. I hope so. In the meantime, the prospect of newer, higher capacity subsea cables entering the market should benefit enterprises and service providers. Like I said, an old story, but I just thought it was interesting. And 10 trillion transactions a day, and $10 trillion. That's heavy duty. So, interesting stuff, I thought. And that's all I've got for tonight. Now, of course, we have this session where I often forget to tell you guys that, yes, any open discussion you want, you can do right now. Hey, Renz is in here. Hey, Renz. Hello, sorry, I've been busy, as in super busy. Always glad to see you, brother. You know that. Ella said, didn't know about most of these articles. She said, thanks. Okay. And of course, she said, Ren's a million. That's great. Everybody's saying hi to Renz. We haven't seen Renz for a while. Like he said, he's been super busy. So, very, very glad to have you in here. I just hit my last story, Renz. Of course, you know, you can go on the webpage and check it out. But the big story this week was the Made by Google announcement, which is going to be August 20th. So 4.5 weeks from now in New York, but they did not tell us where it's going to be in New York as yet. So those are my stories for tonight, but very glad you got here. Let's see. Will. He also said hi to Will. Okay. So that's my stories for this week, folks. Sorry we didn't get Ted. It was much better with Ted last week. And he thought he was going to make it this week, but of course he's in a new job working for the city of Dallas. So he's probably busy. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the stories, and they're not stories you heard everywhere else. We try to come up with something, especially on weeks when we don't have any big announcements, come up with something that might be interesting to all of us tech heads. So Brian said, have a great weekend. You too. So I will be back here next Friday, hopefully, if we're very blessed, with Ted. And hopefully you guys will be back too. Oh, and Renz is being here. So thank you as always, Renz. You and Brian are two of the most faithful. Thank you very much. So glad you got stuck in here. Now, Renz is, of course, at work. It's Saturday morning. He's 12 hours ahead of us. So it's Saturday morning in the Philippines. But glad you got here, Renz. And as always, let's always remember we all do better when we love each other. And what's that song that I said I should sing? Now I've forgotten it. Oh, come on, people now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now. That says it all for me. See you next week, folks. Thanks for everybody.